Well, good morning, my friend. It is October the 18th. Welcome to the Pastor's Podcast this Monday morning. Good to be with you. And I'm glad to have you along with me this morning for just a few minutes as we open up our work week here. And of course, in Oklahoma, it's kind of cooled down. Fall time of the year is absolutely beautiful here right now. And we're going to be in the mid 70s to high 70s this week, sunny outside. And I'm excited about that, getting ready for a big week here at Maranatha Baptist Church. We're going to have our big day this coming Sunday. And pray with us, would you? Fourth annual hog roast. I'd invite anybody to come be a part of it. Looking forward to many souls saved. Had 20 saved yesterday in church. And I believe it was 7 baptized. What a great day it was to see the Lord work here at Maranatha Baptist Church. And I'm always good to be a part of a great church. Had a great crowd last night, full. I won't say packed. I'm a literalist. I'm not going to say a packed auditorium, but a very full auditorium last night. Wasn't much difference between the morning crowd and the night crowd in the auditorium. And of course, in our morning crowds, there's a picture on my Facebook post from last night. That's just one of a total of 6 services going on our property, just to hold the crowd yesterday. And it's exciting to be a part of what God's doing. In 2021, we have to believe that God can still do it. He can. And he is. I can testify to that, to see what God's doing here. And of course, working with such a great people here at Maranatha Baptist Church. I enjoy working with these people. These are working people. These are godly people. And we're not perfect, but boy, I enjoy working with them. And always good to be here. Hey, if you could share my new my new bookstore, online bookstore, oldpathsbookstore.com. Again, I'll put it up on the comment sections of each of these videos, and I'd encourage you. You can get any of my books from the bookstore, and it may take a couple of weeks for restocking some things, but we'll get them to you. I promise you that. Christmas time is coming around. Now is a good time to get some of these things out. I'd encourage you, do what you can. Let's see what we can do to have a great time these next few weeks. And in that area, help me out to get the books out, get the truth out. And I'd appreciate that. Let me, if I can, read to you from 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 5 this morning. The scripture says, "And the meat of his table, the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up into the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit left, or no more spirit in her." Now Solomon was not only a great king in his day, but a blessed man that God had put his hand upon. The fame of Solomon had spread throughout the world, about that known world of his day, about the magnificence of the temple that he had built, and the wealth of his kingdom, and his wisdom that God had given to him. Now, when you think about this, they had no cell phones in that day. There's no digital technology, no social media for people to see the work. It only got out, it only spread by word of mouth. Now, the Queen of Sheba had heard about the greatness and wisdom of Solomon. She came to see if the report were true. Now, when she came, she posed the hardest questions that she thought Solomon would not be able to answer. But he was. Here's an interesting thing. He was able to answer them. She saw the magnificence of his kingdom and the house that he had built. And though she was amazed by all of this, this is not what closed the deal with her heart. What closed the deal about the greatness of Solomon's kingdom were those who served in the kingdom with him. She saw how they served, how they dressed, and how happy his servants were. And the result was that there was no more spirit in her. Have these servants not gotten behind Solomon and all that he did, the Queen of Sheba would have gone home believing that all the reports were a lie. These servants were a critical part in closing the deal in this lady's mind and heart about the greatness of Solomon's kingdom. Now, Solomon got the credit, but a lot of it was up to the servants who served with him. These servants were a vital part to Solomon's kingdom being what it was. Now, every church needs a man of God who has God's hand on him, but it also needs people who validate the reports that others hear about the greatness of the work that God is doing through that preacher. You see, everyone expects the preacher to do right and the preacher to dress right and to have helpful sermons and to be sold on the work that God is doing in his church. But it's the people getting behind that preacher with their heart and service that validates the greatness of that work. It's the people serving under God's man who often validate or voice the greatness of the work in the hearts of those who come to see if the reports of that work are actually true. Now, three things are critical to God's people validating the report of God moving in a church. First, the clothing you wear is critical to people believing that you are doing what you're doing is real. You see, the queen saw the apparel of the servants, and that impressed her. Now, I believe it's still right for God's people to dress up for church and not dress down for church, because it shows how important church is to you. It does matter how the rest of the world dresses down for church. Okay, and let me put it this way. It doesn't matter that they dress down. You should dress up for church because you're in the service of the King of Kings. You say, "But preacher, I don't have fancy clothes," then wear the best that you have. I believe if you can afford a cell phone, sir, you can afford a suit and tie. Ma'am, if you can afford a cell phone, you can afford a nice dress to wear in church. We don't need to come to church in our raggedy old rags and in our play clothes and our common day clothes. We serve the King of Kings. And I know this is not popular in a casual wearing day, but we are not a social club. We are God's servants serving in God's work, and we ought to dress up to what we're supposed to do. Second, your attitude and spirit is critical to closing the deal with people about your church. Now, it doesn't matter how good of a sermon your preacher preaches. People want to come back to the church. People will not want to come back to the church if it has a bad spirit. Now, be careful to protect your spirit by not spreading and listening to gossip. Protect your spirit from the negative influences that would drive you down. Always, let's keep it right. Keep our spirit right in our church. Third, your service is critical to closing the deal with people about your church. When the people are involved in the church, as the preacher is, outsiders will look and believe that what is going on in your church is real. You see, if you want people to visit and stay in your church, don't sit on the sidelines. Get involved. Get involved. My friend, you close the deal to your church. Men, wear a tie. Wear a suit coat. I just can't wear a tie. Then loosen the tie up a little bit, but you wear a tie. This dress, all it takes is one little slip up. You start dressing down. Before long, we start becoming casual. We're in the Lord's service. If the president doesn't dress down for a State of the Union, then I don't think God's people ought to dress down for a State of the Union that happens every Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. Our business is bigger than the president's business. Dress up. I know it's not popular, but we serve the God. Hey, watch your spirit. Then get involved. Get highly involved in the church work. Boy, let's help see. Let me tell you something. The thing that closes the deal here at Maranatha Baptist Church is not me. It's not my preaching. I'll tell you what it is. I've got a good group of people. Boy, they do right. They've got a great spirit. They work with me, and we do a wonderful work here at Maranatha Baptist Church. Now, what's going on here at Maranatha Baptist Church can happen in any church in the world if you all just do the same thing. It's not a matter of being big or small. It's a matter of people get behind the man of God. And by the way, sir, if you're the man of God, then you better do right. You better get busy. You better work hard because people need a man of God, and they'll rally around someone who works hard and is a man of God, and they'll do what you ask them to do if you are the example you're supposed to be. Oh, my friend, hope you have a wonderful week this week. Tell somebody about the Lord, and remember this week, and especially today, remember, be good to everybody. Everybody's having a tough time. Have a great day, my friend.